All right. Good evening, everyone. In case you can hear me, just say something. Say hello. Uh, Hadi Group, as always. They're always top on the list. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Um, I hope you're all doing well, in good health, and lively spirits for this new year. Looking forward to a year of blessing and increase and all that jazz. Angie underscore WM, I see you as well. Greetings, Only Mwara, Karibu. I'm not sure I can see comments on Facebook. Can I?
Yes, you can. They'll
They'll
start
come
coming
up
in
on the
here
side.
when
Okay,
people
cool.
start commenting.
Cool. As always, I have my my technical team and crew here with me. That's who I'm talking to and asking questions. Gladys and Joji. Woo! You guys need to start getting in these image frames so that people know who Joji and Gladys are. But apologies for our late start. We've had some technical issues to sort out, as well as non-technical. I just came out of a very important meeting for one of our newest projects in Nanyuki, which I look forward to sharing at the appropriate time. So don't ask me questions about it because I will not be able to say anything. Um, but thank you for being patient and for tuning in. All right, it's 7:57, believe it or not. We usually end our live Thursday sessions at this time in 3 minutes, but we'll keep going for at least half an hour, I'd say. Depending on your engagement, we might push to 40 minutes. So without much further ado, we'll get started. Send in your questions. You have something to ask, something to comment about, something to complain about even. Feel free to send your comments, an observation you've made about what's going on in the real estate space here in Kenya. Also very welcome. Criticism about our service provision to you or your friends or relatives are also welcome because we're not perfect, but one thing's for sure, we're going to keep striving to get better. And we're happy to take your suggestions and critique. So I'll start with Hadi Group. I see your question on Instagram. Hadi Group say, how do you go about subdividing land, especially road provisions? Does part of the road come out of the customer's plots? That's a great question, Hadi Group. Sounds like you guys are about to become land developers as well. If that's the case, man, all success to you. More of us need to do it in an organized and proper manner and create value for our country. But to answer your question, when we subdivide land as a land developer, as a principal landowner, the formal policies require that as you subdivide or create sub plots from your mother parcel, you account for access roads, and each subsequent plot must have direct accessibility at right angle, 90 degrees to the road. So that means you as a person subdividing land have to allocate space from your mother parcel to account for access, not only access, but also any common areas like gardens, public utilities for, say, solid waste management, if you have waste treatment plant, power base station, those sorts of things, all come out of your mother parcel, so that if your intention is to provide the customer or the eventual buyer or investor, whether it's a 50 by 100, which is an eighth of an acre, quarter acre, half acre, whatever the size is, they get exactly that, separate from the space that you have allocated to access roads and other utilities. Okay, so if you're dealing with a 10-acre block of land, the rule of thumb is anywhere from 10 to 15% of that mother parcel, which is an acre to 1.5 acres, will go towards access roads and other utilities. So that essentially, if you're going to be creating, say, half acres, you will have 8.5 acres to work with, which will give you precisely 17 plots of land at half acre each. Okay, this is a rule of thumb. That number can vary up or down depending on the size of your mother parcel and the density of subdivision that you're creating. Normally, the denser the subdivision, the more space you allocate to utilities, because there are more people envisaged to use that space than if it's lower density. So, as always, work with licensed professionals to help you. In this case, you're looking at a registered planner. That's a physical planner, which is separate from a surveyor, not the same thing. It's also separate from an architect, not the same thing. There are overlaps between the three professional specialties, but they're distinctly separate. So get yourself a registered planner. Ideally, work with an architect as well to bring the best and highest use and arrangement of that land for you. The registered planner will ensure that you are compliant with the specific county's policies and requirements, and the surveyor will finally do the groundwork to put beacons in place, such and such. All the best, Ahadi Group. Thank you for that technical question.
There's another one on Instagram. Angie WM, do you have project managers who would supervise a project in Nanyuki? I don't know where to start looking. It's far off and I need help. On the assumption that I buy a property from you, I'm looking to diversify.
Awesome, Angie. If you're looking to buy property from us in Nanyuki, you will not need a project manager. We'll be happy to provide that service for you because we are doing a lot in Nanyuki already. Now, if you want to hire your own project manager, we're happy to make recommendations for 2 or 3 that we know personally, professional project managers who can help you execute on your development plans. A good project manager will not mind about location. They'll go to wherever is necessary because they don't have to be on the site every single day. They will simply manage all the other moving parts for you to make sure there's efficiency in execution as well as budgetary allocations and spending, accountability, and all that. So I don't know any Nanyuki based ones, but I do know a couple of good ones. I'd be happy to make recommendations to you for. So if you're interested, send us a DM with your number or email address and we can share that information with you. Angie_WM.
Awesome.
Awesome. Any other question on Insta? Nope.
Instagram, not at the moment. We have on TikTok. We have 3 questions on TikTok so far.
TikTok.
Talk.
All right.
The username is a long one. User 87583-731-1347 asks, has the Naivasha subdivision been finalized? When are the individual titles being issued? I'm not sure if they're asking about Naivasha or Elementaita.
Yes. Well, if you're asking about Naivasha, which is Olkekun, subdivisions well completed a good year ago, probably. Yeah, almost. About a year ago. Title deeds ready, fully transferable. Not just the titles, but the accompanying leases, because these are leasehold titles, certificates of lease. In that sense, the subdivision is complete. So give us a call, let us know, buy yours quickly before they're all gone. If you're asking about Elementaita, that process is still ongoing. We have county approvals for residential user, change of use, for 1/4 acres. We are almost complete with the titling, so stay tuned for an update on that because we already have the land registry numbers also issued by the county surveyor. We're just waiting for the physical titles to get registered and released to us. And I think there's 10 plots remaining only. 12 plots remaining only. So get yours. Very unique product. You will not find anything else like it on Lake Elementaita. So bust a move while you can. Okay. Also, we're likely to change the price once the titles are out. So bust a move before that happens.
Awesome. The user who asked that question says, fantastic, that's awesome. We have another question from Tok. This is from Cho Thomas. Cho Thomas, written in Kao, KYO Thomas. Is it worth an American national buying land in Kenya if we can't really own land?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by really own land. Cho Thomas. Well, I presume from your questions you're referring to leasehold titles. They afford you exactly the same ownership rights as freehold land, except for the time limitation, which is 99 years under the new constitution, which is also renewable. So in that sense, there is no difference in real ownership. You have absolutely unimpeachable ownership, even as a foreign national who is restricted to only owning leasehold land. Okay, if you're a foreigner, you can only own leasehold land, 99 years lease maximum, renewable. You have the exact same ownership rights as you do if it was freehold, to borrow, to develop, to sell, make a profit, whatever the case may be. So I just want to address a misconception that your leasehold ownership is somehow inferior to freehold. That's not the case. Obviously, you have to renew when the lease period lapses, and when the renewal is done, it'll still be 99 years. And let's face it, most of us, even if you were buying at age 0, will not live long enough to, by current statistics, will not live long enough to see that lease expire. And if you structure it well, your descendants or successors will be able to renew without much issue. So have no fear, invest. Today is the best time to invest. Don't be afraid.
Awesome. She says, thank you for the insight, and says, Cho is short for Chobutungi.
Chobutungi, that is a consequential name. Thank you for that question, Chobutungi. Much love to you.
Awesome. Still from Tok, we had another question from Kandar Properties. How do get a title for a plot? How do you get a title for a plot with council allocation letter? The plot is in Thika. Thanks.
How do you get a title for a plot with council
allocation letter?
That one, I won't lie to you, you do not get a title. You're not qualified to get a title. If the allocation's been cancelled, you have no basis for getting a title unless you resecure the allocation and then follow the laid out steps to convert that allocation to a title, which is part of adjudication. And for that, you will need the services of a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya, as well as a surveyor. Don't try and do it on your own. That's a very tricky process. If you skip any steps, you could find yourself occupying space that you will never own. So I hope that's answered your question. Gladys is panicking over here. Yeah, Facebook is still on.
It's back on.
Even YouTube.
Oh, it's slept.
YouTube is
It's your screen went to sleep.
YouTube is fine.
Oh, it was Facebook.
I see another question here from Ahadi. And they say, hi Solomon, for those of us who already have title deeds, what is the process of digitizing them? Someone was telling me they had to take theirs in to be digitized. Well, Ahadi, we talked a lot about this on the new title deeding process as part of the digitization initiative by the Ministry of Lands. It's very simple. You can actually visit Ardhi Sasa and look at the instructions on what you ought to do. But that process, you will not be able to start until they gazette your specific title deed along with a cluster of titles, because they're doing them by zones for the entire country. This process is going to take years likely. So all you need to be aware of is that when they do gazette your title, which they will, the current title as well as its newly allocated title reference number, you will submit a filled-in application form for the title conversion. You will print that form from Ardhi Sasa's website, or a licensed advocate can obtain that for you. You will then submit that application form along with your original title deed, the current one, accompanied by your national ID, your KRA PIN, and an updated registry index map, clearly indicating your specific parcel of land on that map. And once you do that, they will receive, and at some point they will inform you once your new generation title deed is out. That's what they are calling the digitization process. And it's clearly laid out on Ardhi Sasa's website. So feel free to get on there and consume the information. Check out our videos. I did do a bunch of videos about this as well. You can check out our YouTube channel, Own Land in Kenya, or just simply search for Solomon Wangwe on YouTube, or Goshen Acquisitions, and Bob's your uncle. Thank you for that question. Ahadi Group.
Ahadi Group had sent another question.
Okay.
Any updates on Acacia Cove? I know you guys are doing something out there.
From Ahadi.
Yes.
Updates on Acacia Cove. Currently, I can say since we last updated you, Ahadi, we are still pursuing the county permit for construction of the gatehouse and a portion of the access roads. Stay tuned for that. Obviously, being customers, once we have secured those, we will blast out an update newsletter for you. So look out for that. We're hoping it will be soon, very 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks at the most, is what we're expecting. Other than that, no new updates for Acacia Cove. If you have friends and family who want to join you there, be your neighbors, tell them to give us a shout before they're sold out. And I look forward to updating you guys on that. I see one from GR8_Dom. This is Instagram, right?
Yes.
Saying, hello Solomon, can I intern for Grand Acres? GR8_Dom, potentially you could. DM us, you'll get instructions on how to send us your CV, your resume, and we'll be happy to consider you interning for Grand Acres. Okay, make sure that you're a right fit for the team and that the team is a right fit for you. Thank you for that question.
Oh, we missed Angie_WM mentioned that she said this is so amazing. Thank you. I will be in touch.
Thank you, Angie.
Yeah.
We look forward to hearing from you. Okay. Yeah, nothing on Facebook yet. Watu wa Facebook mmelala tayari. No other questions? Yeah, awesome. That's great. Well, it's been what? 17 minutes. Guess we'll hold out for another 15 minutes and close at 8:30. So send in your questions, comments, queries. If you know someone who's seriously looking to invest in Kenya, particularly if they're new at doing it, please share the link to this live. They might learn something that will help them invest more efficiently. I see another one here from Nduko. Ndoko says, can you verify if it is important to fence your land once you purchase? Pros, cons. Well, it's good to fence if you can. Not always necessary, especially if you're not going to utilize the space immediately, depending on its location and its environs. It may or may not be important for you to fence. Now, I like to encourage people to fence because, for starters, it prevents trespassers from encroaching on your land, even if erroneously, sometimes because of the absence of beacons or the obscuring of beacons. Even neighbors could inadvertently encroach on your land by fencing within your space. So it's good for you to fence first. Do it right. Obviously, you don't want to encroach on someone else's land either. It also allows you to green your property without fear of damage to the plants and the vegetation you may put in place for that purpose. So, in addition to providing security after you fence, it's a great value addition for security, as well as allowing you to vegetate the place, planting trees, landscaping, and that sort of thing, which further increases value and desirability of your piece of land. So, for all intents and purposes, it is a good thing to fence your land. If you don't, you do run the risk of encroachment, like I've already pointed out. You run the risk of squatters settling on your piece of land, particularly if you're an absentee landowner for that particular location. If it's not a place that you can visit often, definitely you want a fence, and even beyond that, put someone there as a caretaker to look out for it. Build them a place to live, or you can even do a one-pager agreement allowing someone to live or use your land for free, even without rent if you need to, so that there's a presence there. They can use it for their benefit, whether it's farming, whether it's to build some place to live on. The reason I say you give them a one-pager to sign is because once you do that, they can no longer claim adverse possession, which is someone who has lived on the property uninterruptedly for 12 years claiming ownership rights. Okay, they can't do that if you gave them permission to be there, even if they're not paying you. So it's important that you formalize their presence there, even if they're not paying you. If they can pay you, even better. Make your asset work for you. Sweat your asset, like we like to say. And so that's a con. If you don't fence and you don't visit the place often, if someone shows up and decides to camp there for 12 years straight, they can claim squatter rights, which is also called adverse possession, and then you can't kick them out willy-nilly. You have to agree with them, compensate them for leaving. In the worst of cases, they will demand that you split the place in half and share it with them, which they can do legally if they have proper squatter rights. So fencing will forestall a lot of potential problems. So do it if you can. If you can't, fine. Make sure you visit your property often. At the very least, demarcate its boundaries with proper beacons. This is one of the main reasons we do our signature beacons the way we do. They are 7 foot tall, 18-inch in diameter, concrete with steel reinforcement, and branded with our logo. Half of that sucker sits under the ground. You will need a bulldozer, a chair, and a whip to move it. You'd have to be very intentional about moving our beacons if that's what you wanted to do. It weighs 850 kilos on its own, single beacon. So this is one of the reasons we do our beacons that way, in areas where our customers are absentee owners, where they buy for speculative purposes, or because the land is really large and fencing it might be an impediment in terms of cost. Beacons will clearly demarcate your boundaries and avoid inadvertent encroachment by neighbors. And they also simply state to any random stranger that this space belongs to someone because they've installed a clear boundary marker. So that's my 2 cents, or maybe 10 cents, Nduku. I hope that helps. And happy investing to you.
She has another question.
Yeah,
It's a
I see. I'm
question.
hearing you can buy land, but V2 or ground can be different.
There's another question before that.
Uh-huh.
She said, how do you avoid
Land fraud. I
Yeah.
see that. Yeah. So yeah, let me just read that out. Nduku says, how do you avoid land fraud, especially at the land registrar's office? How do you mitigate that with legal help? Well, the first line of defense is proper due diligence when you buy or before you buy. You can't do that without the help of a licensed advocate. You cannot skip any steps in the due process. No shortcuts, no bribing, no fast tracking, none of that nonsense. Do it right. It doesn't matter how long it takes, just do it right. Licensed advocate can do that for you. In case you haven't done so, Nduku, please download for yourself our free checklist, the 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya. It's on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Go to the Grand Acres checklist tab and download it. It's absolutely free. If you follow every single one of those steps, it's very difficult for you to have fraud. In the unlikely event that you do, it will take considerable effort and malice by the authorities who manage these documents at the Ministry of Lands, like your question suggests, at the Land Registrar's office, in which case you could very easily prove in a court of law that the government of Kenya is liable for your loss. There's very little you can do against a land registrar who's marking around with documents in the back office, which you have no access to. But if you follow due process and keep records, it's very unlikely that they would even attempt to. And in the off chance that they do, you're able to hold the government accountable. Okay, that's the best and most honest answer I can give you, Nduku, because there's only so much you can do. The bona fide custodian of these documents are the lands officers at the registries, and there's nothing you can do to stop them from fraudulent behavior from the inside. But if you follow due process from the outside, which is your side, you can hold them accountable. Plain and simple. Cool.
Azima Properties?
Azima Properties.
What is the difference between a share certificate and an allotment letter?
Okay, allotment letters are typically issued by county authorities. Okay, it's an allotment to use a space of land or real estate or property within the county's jurisdiction that is deemed to be public land. A share certificate will be issued by a private entity, like a land buying company or a limited company, a commercial enterprise of some sort. That's why it's called a share certificate, right? The word share suggests private ownership. So a business like Goshen Acquisitions could, for instance, buy a piece of land by pooling capital with many of you. And then before we can produce subdivided portions, we can issue you a share certificate guaranteeing you a portion of the giant parcel of land that we have contributed money together to buy. Does that make sense? That's a difference. Share certificate can only be issued by a private entity, whereas allotment letters are issued by public government authorities. Hope that helps.
There is one on TikTok.
Yeah.
NM254_official asks, advice on a good area to purchase land with good ROI.
Advice would be number one, define your goal. What's your goal for investing? Is it simply for capital gains, or is it for a specific use? That answer to that question will determine everything else, including location, right? Now, I'm going to simplify and say if your point is simply return on investment, that reduces the number of parameters that you need to consider. Most primary one for me is your budget allocation. How much money do you have to spend? Okay. Fast growing peri-urban areas. Peri-urban areas are what we call satellite towns outside of the main city, like Nairobi or Mombasa. Those are fast growing. People are expanding outwards because the cost of land in the main urban center is too high and therefore prohibitive for people to invest. Therefore, they will look for the most affordable piece of land closest to the city. You want to target those areas. Fast growing, even when they're disorganized looking. Remember, if your goal is simply capital gains and not to live there, you may not care so much about the random development, disorganized development, and urban or peri-urban sprawl, as urban planners would classify it. Places like Kitengela are a classic example. Mlolongo, Joska, Kamulu, Kamakis, Kamakis area, Juja, all the way to Makuyu, along the Thika Superhighway. On the other side, you have everything up to the Maimahio turnoff on the Nakuru Highway. I mean, it depends. What's your budget? Those locations will have different prices. You can invest there because they're fast growing. Even if you don't intend to live there because it's not to your taste, you are guaranteed a certain amount of uplift in capital gains because of increased demand and lowering supply. That would be the simplest answer to your question, without having a proper interrogation of your goals and aspirations. Okay? Hey, we have 2 minutes, enough time for one more.
Ahadi Group had a question. Hi Solomon, concerning real estate salespersons, is Kenya working on a course work where they will have to study and take a test or retest after a couple of years, because we realize that most of them are unaware of anything about land. They're just good at selling.
Are they good at selling? That's another question. But that's a good question, Ahadi Group. Yes, there's something being drafted, being worked on. Ministry of Lands has already gone ahead and required all real estate agents to register with parastatal under the Ministry of Lands. I think it's called the Real Estate Agents something. Forgive me, I don't remember the full name. But anyone who's going to operate as an agent is required by law now and policy, Ministry of Lands policy, to register with their entity. Otherwise, they are conducting themselves illegally. Along with that, I believe they are working on certification procedures to make sure there's a standardized professionalism amongst agents in Kenya. That is still a long ways off. We've never had one, which is why we have a very huge informal agency ecosystem. So we wait to see how that's going to pan out. Yeah. Let's hope for the best, but that's a very, very good observation. And I'll be honest, I am not too optimistic about the outcome of that exercise because I think the approach is wrong. We need to benchmark on societies and communities that have done this right for decades. You know, all over the Western world, we have excellent examples of how to professionalize the agency industry. Same in the East, in Southeast Asia, in Europe, even in South Africa. We have plenty of good examples, and I'm not sure why we're taking the approach that we are. So, the jury is still out for me on that. Let's wait and see. All right, it's now 8:30. I want to thank you all for tuning in on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube. My apologies once more for starting late due to our technical issues. It's our first live session for 2024. I'm so grateful for you making time to join us today. And this is something we're going to keep going by the graces of God Almighty every Thursday evening for the rest of this year. So spread the word, get your friends and family together, share the links, get educated. Let's have good conversations about building wealth, growing wealth through real estate investment, but doing it safely. All the best and have a blessed night. Cheers.